If your neighbor keeps trampling your lawn and treating your property like a public walkway, how far would you go to stop them? This story is about one homeowner who turned petty trespassing into a public spectacle, and the result was something nobody in that HOA expected. I'm watching this one unfold here in the United States. If you like wild HOA drama, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more HOA drama. The house sat 3 doors down from the cul-de-sac, where rules were more important than kindness. It was nothing flashy, a modest yard, a few flower beds, a hand-built bench. It was the kind of place a family could be proud of without drawing attention. The owner, a patient person who liked his peace, had one simple request: people stay off his lawn. At first, the trespasses were small. Shoes left prints in the flower bed, dog leashes dragging through beds of lavender, kids running across the grass to catch the school bus without a single parent bothering to knock or ask permission. Each time he planted more, raked more, fixed the lawn's edges. Each time it healed, they trampled it again. Then came Karen. She was an HOA legend in the worst sense, a woman who read rules like scripture and interpreted them as personal authority. She strode through neighborhood life with a clipboard and a chip on her shoulder, and the homeowner's yard was the latest object of her displeasure. She used his path as a shortcut, lingered to scold visitors for leaving a gate slightly open, and made a show of measuring the grass from her kitchen window, as if she were sampling the color of everyone's values. Complaints went nowhere. Formal letters were filed, the HOA's internal channels sputtered and stalled because Karen was part of the machine, and the machine preferred her version of the truth. Local law enforcement suggested documentation and a restraining order if the behavior escalated. Still, neighbors were sheepish at meetings where she ruled like a small-town monarch. The homeowner did the sensible things: photos, timestamps, polite notices. They made no difference. The turning point came during a long drought. The owner's irrigation had been damaged months earlier, and fertilizer that cost a year's budget had been ruined by repeated footprints. Compassion was exhausted, patience had run dry, and the yard looked like a battlefield. He felt watched, harassed, and drained. He didn't want revenge for revenge's sake. He wanted a change that would stop the behavior and make the HOA, the people who let this happen, uncomfortable enough to act. He sought a solution that was visible, public, and harmless. He wanted a spectacle that could not be dismissed as hearsay. So he planned something that only required imagination, community cooperation, and a public stage. No traps, no harm, no violence. He organized an event, told a simple story about a neighborhood celebration, and invited everyone, especially Karen and the HOA board, to attend. Flyers went up, neighbors were curious, social media filled with the usual friendly skepticism, then with growing excitement. People wanted to be there to see what the homeowner might do. The party day arrived. The driveway was lined with recycled folding chairs and a picnic table full of lemonade. Kids ran with painted cheeks, vendors from the weekend market parked off the street, and a local photographer offered to document the whole thing. The homeowner made sure the tone was festive, not confrontational. He wanted evidence and witness, not a brawl. What people did not expect was how theatrical he made the reveal. The centerpiece of the lawn was a bank of harmless, commercially sold color powder launchers intended for festival use, each managed only by a licensed event company to guarantee safety and legality. Signs were posted. All color displays were for consenting participants only. No one would be targeted without notice. The powder was non-toxic and easily washable. And crucially, the homeowner explained he wanted to dramatize what it feels like when someone walks over your life without permission. On cue, during the polite speeches and the gentle clapping, the homeowner directed a short demonstration for attendees who opted in. Volunteers stood in a clearly marked zone and were gently doused in loud but festive showers of color, laughing as kids danced through the falling powder. The mood was celebratory. It looked like a local festival in miniature, a splash of bright colors against otherwise beige suburban life. The Karen watched from the sidewalk, arms folded and face a mask of disbelief. She had come because she loved being center stage, and the event promised a new audience. The homeowner had invited the HOA board in person, copies of complaints and permits tucked inside a neat packet for the president, and he had also invited the local paper. Journalists arrived, filming a scene that a decade ago would have been a throwaway community column. Cameras recorded the laughter, the colors, and the respectful signage. It was public. It had witnesses. It was hard to gaslight. After the demonstration, attendees were invited to wander the restored lawn, while the photographer captured before and after shots. The homeowner left a discreetly placed camera focused on the main walk off the sidewalk. It recorded everything. That evening, Karen did what she always did. She walked across the lawn to return a complaint letter she had dropped, or so she claimed. She stepped right into the path the homeowner had left visible and trespassed straight into the bright square of permitted activity. The camera caught the moment, her shoes pressing into the soil, the disdain in her stride, and then the sound of laughter as neighbors recognized what had happened. She realized in a visible instant that she had become the subject of the very public story she tried to control. The homeowner did not ambush her, did not trap her, and did not retaliate physically. He used evidence, witnesses, and spectacle to post the footage online the next morning alongside a calm explanation of the timeline and a request that the HOA address repeated trespassing. The clip went viral in the neighborhood's private groups, and then beyond. People who had been sneaked up by small tyrannies in the past suddenly felt less alone. The HOA received emails, the newspaper ran a balanced piece, and the county council asked for copies of the evidence to consider mediation. The next HOA meeting was no longer terrain she could dominate. The board faced residents with photos, witness statements, and a tone of public accountability. For the first time, neighbors spoke up. The shy homeowner, who fixed his lawn every Sunday, testified to the damage of repeated trespassing. Children talked about how much they had enjoyed the festival. The paper's photographer and 2 local bloggers were present. It was impossible to dismiss. Faced with the public record, the HOA board removed Karen from her committee roles and mandated clear trespass policies with steps for enforcement through proper channels. They instituted fines for unauthorized entry and made a plan to repair damaged lawns. The homeowner accepted an official apology and a promise of mediation. It was imperfect, but it worked. Most importantly, the lawn stayed whole. Neighbors started walking on sidewalks instead of cross-cutting through flower beds. A small patch of grass became a symbol, not of confrontation, but of a community's ability to correct itself when one person pushed too far. The story spread because it was a creative solution that avoided harm, relied on witnesses, and forced a community to reckon with entitlement in public. In the end, the homeowner did not escalate into violence. He used strategy, legality, and theater to bring attention to harassment and to change the behavior he could not fix with polite notes alone. So, what would you do if someone kept trespassing on your property? Maybe you would document, engage your neighbors, and use safe, legal ways to expose the problem. Sometimes the most effective trap is a public spotlight, not a physical one. If you like the story, hit like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more HOA drama. Tell me which country you're watching from in the comments. I read them all, and if you want, I'll write a version of this where the homeowner uses another legal, peaceful method to get justice.